Thank you very much, and good morning. We have to pick one language. Tukomeze mu Cyongereza? Okay. So I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to exchange once more with all of you. What I can tell you is that we have been very busy in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and also the country itself. There's been a lot going on that I know you have been covering. We are also expecting a number of high-level officials here in Kigali in the middle of July. As you know, Rwanda will be hosting the summit of the African Union. The 27th summit of the African Union will take place here in Kigali with very important and strategic discussions to take place amongst heads of state of the continent. Quite a lot of good news in the summit, including advances in terms of integration. This summit in mid-July in Kigali will see the first African passport delivered to heads of state, symbolically to start trickling down to other African citizens who are looking at ways to speed up and facilitate as much as possible the free movement of people across the continent. Rwanda, as you know, is a country that strongly believes in integration. We have taken our own measures to allow Africans to come to Rwanda and Rwandans to go across the continent. We need to trade amongst ourselves, and it's difficult to advance trade, inter-Africa trade, without facilitating the movement of people, of goods, of services, and so forth. This summit's theme will be the rights of women. So we'll be talking about particularly the first day of the summit, which is the 17th of July. In the afternoon, there will be a good discussion on delivering on the rights of women. And again, Rwanda being what I think is a country that's extremely receptive of the advancement of women. It's also a very fitting theme for here. We will be receiving the chairperson of the African Union Commission here in Kigali next week to discuss details of the program with the president of Rwanda. This is also going to be a summit with elections of the Commission of the African Union. Both the chairperson, the deputy chairperson, and several commissioners will be leaving the commission. Their term will be up. So in addition to all this, we will be discussing here in Kigali during the summit how Africa can finance itself on a number of initiatives and programs of the African Union. So we will be expecting also ministers of finance across the continent to be here for this very important discussion with heads of state. We will be talking about resource mobilization for peacekeeping. We will be, of course, going through the usual statutory discussions for such summits. The meetings will start on the 10th of July with the ambassadors' meetings, known as the Permanent Representatives Committee, followed by the meeting of the Ministers of Foreign Affairs, known as the Executive Council, and the Summit of the Heads of State. So we are, as I think and I hope you are, very excited to receive our brothers and sisters from the continent here in Kigali. We look forward to these very important discussions. But as I mentioned a moment ago, we've been crisscrossing the world for the usual business of foreign affairs. Some of the most recent trips include travel and attendance of an important meeting on how to get more women in politics, which I attended in Amman, Jordan. We had a retreat of ministers of foreign affairs in Nairobi, Kenya, a month or so ago. I was in Italy for an Africa-Italy collaborative discussion. We want Italian know-how, we want Italian companies to come to our country and the rest of the continent. These are times of collaboration amongst countries, and particularly to address some of the global issues that need all of us, countries big and small, to work together. My last trip about 10 days ago was to Geneva, where I participated in the launch of the candidature of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia for the position of Director General of the World Health Organization, which will be next May 2017. He was endorsed, the current Foreign Minister of Ethiopia was endorsed by the entire continent in January during the Summit of Heads of State in Addis Ababa as Africa's candidate to the World Health Organization. We had a very good launch in Geneva, which coincided with the Africa Day, which is May 25, and had the opportunity to showcase our candidate. He's probably one of the best qualified individuals to run the World Health Organization. He also had the opportunity to give his own views on what he thinks should happen in terms of moving forward with the World Health Organization. And we also think, besides the high qualifications of the Minister of Ethiopia, we also think sometimes these other parts of the world need to share a little bit with the continent. So we do have a great candidate, and we think it's time for Africa to run the World Health Organization. On and on and on. So there's been a lot happening, and I'm here to receive your questions.
Honourable Minister, we're seeing new roads under construction. With hotels that are thought or expected to host the African Union are not finished yet. The case in point is the Convention Center. One would ask, already are we 3,000 guests, including over 50 heads of state? How ready are we?
icyo nifuza kumenya cyane cyane kugira ngo tumaze iminsi twumva kuvuga mu mwaka ushize actually mwatubwiye ko u Rwanda rwarimo gukomeza kwagura umubano n'ibindi bihugu, harimo kubaka za ambasade mu bihugu bitandukanye, harimo plans z'ibihugu bitanu, harimo Angola, na Zambia, ibindi sindibuka neza, hari na Senegal. Iyi plan yabigeze hehe? Ese niki twaba dufite mu zindi plani zo mu gihe kiri imbere gukomeza kwagura uyu mubano? Wenda akandi kantu umuntu yakwifuza kumenya ni ikintu kijyanye n'uburyo u Rwanda bikomojeho uburyo u Rwanda rukomeje kugenda rugabanyiriza abanyafurika ibibazo byo kwinjira mu bihugu cyangwa uburemere bwa za viza, aho twebwe muri abanyafurika bemerewe kwaka viza bageze ku kibuga cy'indege i Kanombe. Ese ibindi bihugu byo bigeze he mu rwego rwa principle of reciprocity mu gufasha abanyarwanda? Murakoze.
Nitwa Kamanzi Ministre muri Museki. Ngiye ikibazo cyane kirebanye n'abarundi bavuye mu Rwanda, bo basubijwe mu Burundi, Rwanda ikavuga ko kubera ko batari bafite ibyangombwa bemera kuba mu Rwanda. Ikibazo cyanjye rero kirebana n'uburyo birukanwe. Hariho abavuga ko birukanwe basize imitungo yabo mu Rwanda kandi bakirukanwa bibatunguye. Hari abavuga ko abirukanwe bagasiga abagore cyangwa abagabo. Ikibazo cyanjye rero nagira ngo first of all mu comment kuri uko kwirukana kwabo bavuga hanyuma ariko munambwira abasize imitungo na cyane ko mu bice by'ibyaro ahantu bahingaga koko batubwiye ko aribo bagiye basiga imyaka basize amazu byo bizakuri bazagaruka babisubirane se leta irimo kubibacungira yo murakoze.
For the upcoming summit of the African Union, how ready are we? We are very ready. Of course, as you mentioned, we have a lot of activities in town, really readying ourselves and our city and our hotels and other facilities for the many, many guests. We are expecting anywhere from 3,500 to 4,000 delegates and guests coming for the African Union. We have been preparing for a long time. You mentioned the Kigali Convention Center. This center was meant to be ready a year and a half ago, so there was delay in the construction due to some contractual difficulties. But we agreed with the company that's been constructing the Kigali Convention Center on a timeline, and the company has been absolutely on time with the deliveries. So we've been catching up with time that was lost 2-3 years ago. But I personally check on the convention center on a very regular basis for obvious reasons, and the activities that are going on right now at the convention center are really the finishing activities, including making sure we have the right furniture in the right kind of place. The hotel is ready. Radisson Blu is ready. It's also just putting the final touches on the different facilities. But I can confirm to you that the Kigali Convention Center will be open the first week of July, which is 10 days actually before the summit. The same for Marriott downtown, right by Hotel Serena. It will be opening on July 5. So we are following very closely. These touches are very important because of the high level and the high caliber of guests, but also because of the numbers of people that would be in Rwanda during the summit. Many other facilities that are not high-end are also preparing, as you would have seen. You mentioned also some roads. We're trying to adjust particularly the roads between the airport, Kigali International Airport, and the Kigali Convention Center, which will host the bulk of the meetings. Some other meetings will take place in other hotels and the Camp Kigali village as well. So I can confirm to you that we are absolutely ready. We will be receiving a team from the African Union Commission tomorrow for a few days to work with us on, again, finalizing the program vis-a-vis some of the logistics. So I hope to see all of you during the summit. It's going to be a very exciting time, particularly from the 10th of July to the 18th of July. So the heads of state meetings will be 16th of July, 17th of July, and 18th of July is the closing day. And before that, as I mentioned, ministers of foreign affairs, and before that, ambassadors accredited to the African Union in Ethiopia. Ikibazo kijyanye no kwagura amarembo y'u Rwanda dushyiraho za ambasade zihagarariye igihugu cyacu hirya no hino cyarakomeje mu bihugu mwabajije nibyo muri umwaka n'igice imyaka 2 ishize twagiye dufungura ambasade hirya no hino kubera ko twasanze inyungu z'igihugu zaba zihagarariwe neza tuhafite abantu bacu bafite ubushobozi, banafite inshingano ku rwego rwa ambasade, igihugu cya Angola, igihugu cya Zambia, hari naho twafunguye ambasade zihari abakozi bakora hagitegereje kubona ambasaderi nko mu igihugu cya United Arab Emirates, twafunguye ambasade mu gihugu cya Israel, so ibyo bikorwa byo biracyakomeza, kandi n'umusaruro uragenda ugaragara uturuka muri ibyo bihugu. Korohereza abanyafurika kuza mu Rwanda mu buryo bwa viza zituma binjira mu gihugu ndetse bakaba bamara igihe mu gihugu, mu by'ukuri ntabwo twebwe nk'u Rwanda ntabwo twabikoreye kugira ngo abandi batwishyure. Turizera yuko n'ibindi bihugu, kandi biragaragara no mu biganiro navuze tuzagira hano mu gihe cy'inama y'umuryango w'ubumwe wa Afurika, iyi ni gahunda izaganirwaho cyane, uko ibihugu bya Afurika byoroherezanya kugira ngo abenegihugu batembere bava mu gihugu kimwe bajya mu kindi, bajye gucuruza, gushora imari, gutembera bisanzwe bya mukerarugendo. Twebwe nk'igihugu twabikoreye yuko ari ikintu twemera ko kiri ngombwa. Twemera ko abanyafurika gufatanya ari ikintu gikomeye cyane, bidufitiye inyungu twese nk'umugabane, kubera ko duhuje amateka, kubera ko duhuje n'ibyifuzo mu iterambere. Ikigaragara ni uko ibihugu byinshi bigenda nabyo bitera intambwe ikomeye mu korohereza abanyafurika gutembera mu bihugu byabo. Muri ibi byumweru bishize hari ibihugu tuzi byagiye bifata ingamba zo korohereza abantu kwinjira mu bihugu byabo, igihugu cya Namibia, igihugu cya Ghana. Ibihugu bimaze kugera nko kuri 13 muri Afurika byiyemeje gufata ingamba zihutirwa kugira ngo abanyafurika babashe kuva mu gihugu kimwe bajya mu kindi. Ni ibintu byiza cyane rero, kuko Afurika tugomba guhahirana. Ntabwo dushobora guhahirana rero tutaziranye, tutemerera mu buryo bwihuse, dufasha abanyafurika gutembera bava mu gihugu kimwe bajya mu kindi. So iyi rero ni gahunda ikomeye, kandi nk'uko nabivuze izaganirwaho cyane hano mu nama y'umuryango wa Afurika wunze ubumwe. Ntabwo twebwe tworohereje abandi banyafurika mu rwego rwa reciprocity ngo turabemereye, turaborohereje mufatire viza ku kibuga cyangwa se ku yindi mipaka, ariko turabikora ariko namwe mu bitwemereye. Turizera ko ibihugu bizagenda birushaho kugenda byoroherezanya kugira ngo abanyafurika bashakishe amahirwe mu bindi bihugu. Twabikoreye ko tubyemera nka politiki yacu y'ububanyi n'amahanga, ntabwo twabikoreye kugira ngo utatwishyuye natwe tumubuze kuza mu gihugu. Abanyafurika bose tubaha ikaze mu gihugu cyacu, kandi buriya buri gihugu kiba gifite uko kibanza kwitegura mbere yo kwemerera abantu kwinjira mu gihugu. Turifuza ko byihuta, ariko nta kibazo biduteye haramutse hari ibindi bihugu bitari byagera kuri iyo ntambwe. Ikibazo cy'abarundi birukanywe mu Rwanda ni ikibazo cyoroshye, ariko kubera ko Burundi hamaze iminsi hari ibibazo twese tuzi by'umutekano muke, bya politike n'ibindi, kuva hashize umwaka urenga, ubundi ni ibintu byoroshye kubyumva. Icyambere kuba twarifuje ko abarundi bari mu Rwanda mu buryo butajyanye n'amategeko, butazwi, bava mu gihugu, byo birumvikana. Nta gihugu gipfa kwakira abantu. Niba uri impunzi uri impunzi, niba uri umuturanyi waje gukora mu gihugu, nabyo bifite uko bigenda n'impapuro zibikwemerera. Ikindi ni uko imibare yari myinshi muri intara zegeranye n'igihugu cy'u Burundi, aho usanga abantu bahari utazi mu by'ukuri niba baraje kuba mu gihugu, niba baraje gukora, niba ari impunzi badafite uburyo bugaragara bari mu gihugu. Nicyo cyabiteye, biracyanakomeza. Ndibaza ko habanje kugenda umubare munini, ariko twagiye dukomeza kureba n'abandi badafite stati yumvikana, batazwi mu gihugu nk'impunzi, batazwi nk'abakozi, ko murabizi ko mu muryango wacu wa Afurika y'Iburasirazuba ubundi nta kibazo tugira iyo abaturanyi bacu baje gukora mu bihugu byacu, turabyemera turanabishyigikira, ariko bifite uburyo bisabwa, bifite impapuro zikwemerera gukora. Iyo rero bidahari kandi imibare y'abantu ari myinshi cyane, icyo gihe hashobora no kuza n'ibibazo by'umutekano. Niyo mpamvu twifuje yuko abo barundi bari mu gihugu mu buryo budasobanutse basubira mu gihugu cyabo, kandi ndumva baragiye mu gihugu cyabo nta kibazo numvise kuva bagenda. Iby'imitungo cyangwa se ibindi baba barasize inyuma, ibyo ngibyo ibihugu bibiganiraho, abantu bakumvikana. Ni nk'uko hari abanyarwanda benshi babaga mu Burundi batashye mu Rwanda nyuma ya Jenoside, twamaze igihe tubiganira na leta y'u Burundi, abasizeyo amafaranga, abasizeyo za konte, abasizeyo imitungo. Ibyo cyangombwa ni ukutabibambura, umuntu akagumana ibye, ariko ibyo bifite uko biganirwaho hagati y'ibihugu, nta kibazo.
Turafata ibindi bibazo bitatu. Edmond.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. My name is Edmond Kaji. I work for the East African newspaper. Away from the AU summit, Honourable Minister, I wanted to know what Rwanda is doing to normalize relations with South Africa. We understand that Africa has already appointed diplomats to its mission in Kigali, and it appears Rwanda has not done so. So what is being done to restore relations between the two countries? On the issue of FDLA, Minister, last week we heard that operations were going to resume against the rebels in Eastern DRC. What is Rwanda's take on this issue? Thank you.
Murakoze, nitwa Sumta Kabonera, Ijwi ry'Amerika. Mu minsi ishize mwari mwasabye ibindi bihugu kuza gufata impunzi z'Abarundi bakabacumbikira, twagira ngo tubabaze ese bigeze he, niba bitarakozwe hazakurikiraho iki?
Richard Meinberg, African Correspondent Switch Radio. Just a brief question about related to the other one. There seems that there is a split in FDLR right now. There's leaders arrested in DRC. Just wondering if these developments might, in what way might that influence the relationship between Rwanda and DRC?
Okay, let me take these few. The normalization of relations between Rwanda and South Africa has been implemented over the last year and a half, 2 years. So there is no question as to the decision by both countries to move forward and to move beyond some of the tension that had been there since 2010. So the normalization is a process, and it includes a number of things. You can see that a number of commercial activities between the two countries are ongoing, very good trade and investment relations. Many South African companies operating in Rwanda, Rwanda Air flying to Johannesburg daily, South African officials coming to Rwanda for business, including the very large delegation that attended the World Economic Forum on Africa, led by the Deputy President. So normalization there is no question about the two countries, both of us normalizing relations. Part of it, you are right, was to reappoint diplomats. So that's ongoing. We're in the process of selecting and deciding what diplomats should be staffing our mission in South Africa. Our ambassador has been in South Africa. Just some junior and mid-level diplomats that need to be appointed. So that is not, there is no question that we are normalizing. Some other things need to happen. For example, on our side, we are waiting for the promised reinstatement of visa facilities for ordinary Rwandans. We, the officials, travel very easily to South Africa, but we want ordinary Rwandans to have the same kind of access. So these are things that we keep discussing both ways, but there is no question about the normalization. Some of the aspects of it are taking longer, particularly on the South African side, but we, on the Rwandan side, once we made the decision to normalize, we proceed with what was agreed in terms of normalization actions. FDLR operations resumed last week. These operations resume every now and then. I don't think last week was the first time we had heard of operations against the FDLR, and I think at this point, let's just wait and see what happens. I think a lot is said and very little is done with the FDLR, and as I've explained to you quite a few times now, it's just people and countries playing politics. It has very little to do with the difficulty to remove FDLR. It has to do with some countries, particularly countries on the UN Security Council, the same countries that are responsible for peace and stability in the world and in our region, have just been playing politics. It's all linked to the support the FDLR back at the time of the genocide enjoyed with some of these countries, powerful countries that, as we have seen it elsewhere, also are just playing politics with matters of security. Some countries that had been involved on the wrong side of the genocide, you know, covering up and playing games with the FDLR. I think, as we've said also before, the most important thing for Rwanda is to be prepared to protect our citizens and our territory. The rest is just politics that we all know, and we as a country also know how to react to that kind of funny politics. The split in FDLR, well, I think the first thing one realizes is that much as the numbers of FDLR elements in the DRC keep being reported as going down, you know, anywhere from a few thousand to now there is only 175 left, and so again that's also politics. Clearly, reorganizing and splitting and, you know, disputes and all that only tells us that the FDLR is alive in the DRC. The idea that those who remain in the DRC are the elderly and the young people and so forth is just not true. But again, I mean, we've said this before also, this is not a responsibility of the DRC alone. This is a responsibility of many countries that are charged with handling this issue. It hasn't, we've been communicating and exchanging with the DRC on this matter. There is no negative impact in terms of our relationship with the DRC. It's something that's been there for 2 decades, and so we go back and forth, but whether there is a split or no split, or these are all bad guys. Sometimes they try to cleanse themselves and reinvent themselves. They've changed names I don't know how many times. I think sometimes with the advice of some of these non-African politicians trying to create something out of the FDLR, but you know, all I can say is that as far as Rwanda is concerned, we're ready for the FDLR one way or another. So we really don't think the split is anything new or anything that should change the way we have been looking at this situation over the last few years. Gosibya? Yego. Sure.
J'aimerais avoir, parce que nous, au Contact TV, on travaille en français, juste le résumé du texte que vous avez lu en anglais. Et puis, pour les questions, j'aimerais vous poser la question par rapport aux réfugiés, non, aux Burundais qui vivaient sur le sol rwandais, qui ont été expulsés, et puis par rapport aux relations diplomatiques entre le Rwanda et le Burundi, et par rapport aux relations diplomatiques entre l'Afrique du Sud et le Rwanda. Merci.
J'ai expliqué en Kinyarwanda tout à l'heure que il y a 2 raisons. D'abord, il y a beaucoup de Burundais qui étaient surtout dans les districts du sud-est du Rwanda, du côté de la frontière burundaise, qui étaient au Rwanda sans statut particulier, sans statut, qui n'étaient ni réfugiés, qui n'étaient pas enregistrés comme réfugiés, qui n'étaient pas au Rwanda en tant que Burundais qui travaillent au Rwanda, puisque c'est permis, mais il y a une procédure de demande d'emploi qui n'avait pas été suivie. La deuxième raison, c'était le nombre. Quand on a 7, 8, 9 000 personnes dans un seul district qui sont là illégalement, c'est une des raisons importantes pour lesquelles on a voulu que ces Burundais retournent au Burundi. C'est un exercice qui continue d'ailleurs, surtout dans le sud du Rwanda, du côté pas très loin de la frontière burundaise. C'était des citoyens burundais qui étaient au Rwanda d'une manière non expliquée. Et donc, on va continuer, surtout dans la zone frontalière du Burundi, de s'assurer que les Burundais qui sont sur le territoire rwandais sont reconnus comme réfugiés ou vivent au Rwanda d'une manière légale reconnue avec toute la procédure qui va avec. Les relations entre le Rwanda et le Burundi, rien de nouveau. Je pense qu'il n'y a rien de nouveau non plus dans les relations inter-burundaises. Donc, la crise burundaise qui perdure depuis un peu plus d'1 an, pour nous en tout cas, est toujours là. Il y a eu, comme vous le savez, un début de discussion en Tanzanie qui était attendu depuis plusieurs mois. Je ne sais pas s'il y a du nouveau. Je sais qu'il y a eu des contestations de certaines parties burundaises, donc rien de spécial en tout cas, depuis plusieurs mois.
We'll take the question.
My name is Ivan Mujisha. I work with the East African. I have just one question. On Friday, last Friday, the African Court on Human and People's Rights ruled that Rwanda can withdraw from some of the declarations, as it has already said. but it also said that this will not affect the pending cases, of which there are about 3. The latest having Ms. Ingabire Victoire. I'd like to know whether Rwanda is still going to appear, regardless of this ruling, in all the cases that are pending at the African Court of Human Rights and Human and People's Rights. And also, lastly, as a champion of Pan-Africanism, Rwanda is known for being a champion of Pan-Africanism. Doesn't the pending withdrawal from this court raise questions about Rwanda's support for continental independence, especially when you see cases of such ICC and everything? Thank you.
Well, let me first of all clarify this whole African court withdrawal business, because I realize that every time it's reported on, it's quite inaccurate, and I think it has to do with the fact that most people don't even read and find out what the case is about. One, Rwanda has not withdrawn from the African court. We were a member of the court. We support very much an African court. It's needed. So there's been no such a thing as withdrawing from the court. Two, what Rwanda did was to request to withdraw from a declaration that Rwanda has made along with a few African countries, about 7 or 8 other countries. What is this declaration about? This declaration is an African Union process. It's not a court process. It's a political process, which basically said that as members of the African court, additionally, we accept and we are ready for individuals, civil society groups, NGOs, to bring cases against our countries before the African court. So in addition to being members of the court, we took a step to say, we don't mind as a country that individuals, because this is mostly a court that deals with country matters, so we opened ourselves up to cases, possibility of cases being brought against us as a country. Now, again, a few countries took that declaration in the context of the African Union. But what we realize is that in the space of 3 years, maybe 2.5 years, that additional goodwill declaration was being abused by individuals whose cases have no merit, have been dismissed. But more aggravating for Rwanda was that cases linked to genocide were being brought back through the court. And for us, that is something that was no longer going to be acceptable. So what we asked the court was to give us time to review our declaration to decide whether we pull out or not. So that's really what the process is. Because, and to your second question, Pan-Africanism is not, what Rwanda did, I think, was in the protection of Pan-Africanism, because we want Pan-African institutions to function properly. We want Pan-African institutions to act professionally. We want justice at the level of the continent to be advanced. The continent has many, many qualified individuals in the sector of justice. But, you know, again, when it ceases to be justice and it becomes abusive and it all mixes up with politics, then it kills the nature and the original purpose of the court. So we were very pleased to see last Friday that our request was accepted, that indeed we should go back and look at our declaration that we made for additional individuals and NGOs to bring cases. It's a good opportunity for us, as we have been doing, to talk to other African countries and make sure that the processes that we have subscribed to voluntarily do not get hijacked by politics once again. We will be sure during the upcoming summit of the African Union to discuss this matter with other African countries that are already alerted to the fact that when countries decided to take an extra step and really allow for justice to take place, it looks like now it's being hijacked by other elements that have rather a very abusive attitude and action towards justice. So that's really what happened. We hope and we think that the ruling of the court in favor of Rwanda's request is a good opportunity to have a serious discussion and not derail the original mission of the court. And I can tell you already that behind these individuals that are linked to genocide cases and so forth, there are some non-African entities that have been funding these activities and asking for some of our own individuals or NGOs to go look for cases against Rwanda. Some of them European entities that are funding individuals to go look for cases against Rwanda. So we're no longer talking about justice, but that's why we wanted, as a country, to be allowed to review our commitment in terms of our declaration. Otherwise, we are and we remain a member of the African Court.
Thank you. Please let me take you back to the issue of justice. As we speak today, there's an ongoing trial in France. And I'd like to get your take on the fact that France has refused to extradite those people to Rwanda, to fight in Rwanda. But to the best of my knowledge, the CPCR, the organization that has been pushing for justice in France for nearly 20 years, now struggles to raise funds. It's actually now mobilizing. They've run out of money. Why is it that, because genocide is a crime against humanity, against the international community, against humanity, why is it that France is not funding the trials since it can't be tried in Rwanda? And do you ever take this issue to the UN? What is really going on? What is your take on that? I wish you could comment on what is going on vis-a-vis the issue of your Paul and the so-called second in command of the FDL in Kinshasa now for over 30 days now. What's going on? Thank you.
I missed the second question. The FDLR question.
Over a month ago, deputy commander of the FDL was arrested in Goma and then Congolese authorities in Kinshasa. What is going on? I'm sure Rwanda wants to. Thank you.
So first of all, let me agree with you that anything linked to genocide or the FDLR is the responsibility of all of us. If we believe that there is such a thing as crime against humanity, that's why it's not called crime against Rwanda. It's a responsibility of all of us, certainly. Second, to repeat what I said just a moment ago, that there is a lot of politics around genocide and perpetrators of genocide and their supporters who, even though they were defeated by their ideology and their thinking, was not obviously defeated. So in there you find the explanation for all these otherwise illogical ways of dealing with people who are associated with genocide. because there is politics behind that. And you will see that many of these really very offensive attitudes and protection of people linked to the genocide, most of them take place outside Rwanda, not really inside Rwanda. One is because we Rwandans, have done a lot of work to understand our history and where we went wrong, and we've administered justice, but there's a level of impunity when it comes to the genocide that took place in this country outside our borders, and there is not much we can do. We rely on the goodwill and the adherence to some of the international principles and agreements that countries have signed. So when we look at the trial you just mentioned taking place in France now, there is a process. There is a legal process that cannot be interfered with for obvious reasons. But sometimes it's not clear what the politics behind these trials are also. So really the question should be posed to France, not to Rwanda, because that's where this really very blatant lack of collaboration in matters of genocide, protection even of individuals accused of genocide, sometimes a bit of theatricals about arresting people, but they are then released. Hundreds of cases that were referred to France from Rwanda, for example, not one, has been concluded. Let me remind you that the very famous case that was engineered around the 20th anniversary of the genocide of Pascal Simbikangwa, that man was arrested for passport fraud. He was not arrested for genocide. He just happened, after he was arrested for consular matters, happened to be one of the masterminds of the genocide, and ended up being publicized as a major case. It's important, and we welcome the fact that he was tried. But France did not arrest that man for genocide. He was originally arrested for something else. So really, there's not much I can explain other than to say that if countries have no goodwill, or if countries have been caught up in the whole genocidal enterprise, then they do some of these things that don't look normal to us in terms of international justice. And I think, at some point we should just not waste too much money of the government of Rwanda, or too much time, and just let these genocidaires stay with their friends in Europe and not worry too much about it, because we are very limited in what we can do as a country. We can't intervene in cases that are ongoing in what looks like a legal process. But I think, again, there is no big mystery around it. It has to do with the kind of political atmosphere that has surrounded the whole genocide enterprise. Same for the man who was arrested about a month ago. It's a legal process. First of all, I should not comment too much about it because it's a case that is ongoing. For Rwanda, the most important thing is that justice be done, whether it's done in France or DRC or on the moon. We just want justice done. It doesn't matter if there is a problem extraditing people to Rwanda. At least get them tried in another place, because in the end, what is desired is for people not to get away with genocide. So we really don't mind if they are arrested and tried elsewhere. if there is a difficulty in extraditing them.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much. We hope to see you soon.